At any point, feel free to question or even challenge. There is nothing wrong with the concept, the principle of understanding Bhagavad Gita. The most important, which Krishna says himself, is that we need to ask questions and get our thought processes revealed so that it can be discussed and clarified. The practical implementation of it is important, of this knowledge. It is not just a fancy word set that we are supposed to be reading. We're supposed to be implementing this in our life. And that implementation can perfectly be done only when we are convinced about it. We're not going to do anything that we are not convinced about, right? So, wherever you feel, please stop me and we can do a discussion. We would like to have a dialogue here, okay? So, the verse that is first is being saying, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is purely situated in this determination. This verse and the stemming of thought processes from verses like these in our scriptures are pretty interesting. Because what it does is, it kind of gives us a little mindset. And we are going to first categorize that mindset real quick, based on what these verses before and after are saying. We are on chapter 9, verse 30. If you have the hardbound, it is page 411. The softbound might have a page which is different. Okay. So when the condition over here is the most important, it is talking about that even if one commits something wrong, the person should still be considered as perfectly situated. We should not consider a person. But there is a very important precondition to it, which is that there has to be strong determination. So what does that mean is, and Srila Prabhupada talks about this, is that one can perform actions in two different categories. One is a set of actions that is performed on a bodily platform. Right? Understanding our identity as being the body. So for example, I can think I'm a male, you're a female, so you are supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing that. When we start doing the categorization of work based on such identity, or maybe we take it as saying, oh, I'm born with an Indian body, somebody else, you're an American body, so I have to do this, you are supposed to do something else. I'm a white-bodied, I'm a brown-bodied, I'm a black-bodied, whatever it is. Based on this, if we are categorizing any sort of actions that needs to be performed, that definition is based on that body identity, that is one category. Such an action performed is not what Krishna is talking about over here as being full determination. Because when we are identifying ourselves in these ways, I'm saying, oh, as a father I'm supposed to do this, as a sister I'm supposed to do this, and so on and so forth. Any of this duty is not what Krishna is talking about to be done with full determination. To be very clear with that. The other category of action which is performed is with the identity of us as a soul. Where now we are talking about responsibilities, duties, and actionable items based on our spiritual identity. What is our spiritual identity? As being of a living entity, which is parts and parcel of the Lord. It's Ansha. And we are supposed to be serving the Krishna in this case, right? So understanding that and performing actions based on that understanding and identity is what is being categorized over here. We are doing Bhagavad Gita reading. Feel free to take a copy from outside and sit down with us to have a discussion piece. Right? There's no charges. It's open. You can sit down whenever you want. You can go whenever you want. No obligations. Okay. So, these actions that we just categorize based on the spiritual identity needs to be performed with determination. What it means very clearly is, when we make statements such as, I'm going to do the best that I can, God is not that strict, He's loving us. He's a lovable person, right? Which is fine, which is correct. There's nothing wrong with that. But so, you know what? I will do the best that I'm capable of doing. Why stress so much about aspects of devotion or bhakti? That is not full determination. When we start saying that, sometimes it's okay to do this, sometimes it's okay to do it like that, I'm doing it to the best of my capabilities, or I'm doing it based on how I perceive things to be. that is not full determination based on what Bhagavad Gita talks about. So one who is in the path of full determination, following, first understanding the instructions as given in the Bhagavad Gita and following that as best as they are able to with full determination, understanding the fact that while we are trying to make progress into the spiritual path, coming up and bringing ourselves to the point of fully understanding and following the instructions, we will make mistakes. What it means is that when, for example, we started doing biking, when we were little kids, we started doing biking. We made mistakes. We fell down, we got hurt. We probably even did damages to the bike itself. We might have even be those one of these few percentage of people who went and bumped into somebody else and hurt them also. Maybe we did that while trying to learn to drive a car or something, right? We might have done mistakes as part of the learning process. What Krishna is saying, that is okay. If you are fully determined to do things based on how you are being taught to do, the way I am telling you to do it in Bhagavad Gita, in that process if you are making a mistake, that is okay. But if you are trying to make a mistake on the grounds of saying that mistakes are okay, then that is not a mistake. That is purposeful action. Right? We understand the difference between a mistake and a purposeful action, right? A mistake is when I am trying to do it correct, but still because of my lack of practice or expertise, mistakes are happening. On the other hand, when I say, it's okay if something falls down while I'm eating, crumbles, falls down, it's okay. It's okay for me to be dirty, filthy, it happens, it's life. When we make statements like this, that is what Krishna is saying is not the category of full determination. And that he only, okay. So there are two ways to look at this. One is self-introspection and then while looking at others, right? When we are looking at others, this is again a very common practice. For those who have in any shape or form tried to perform spiritual practice even to a tiny bit of extent, might have experienced this. Say for example, all of you wonderful people decided on a working day to come to the temple. And your friends, your family see that, oh, this person goes to the temple, very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. And then one fine day, you make a little mistake somewhere. You got angry. Or you ended up saying something wrong. Or you did something which probably is against what the scriptural teachings is in a minute. Very easily, people will use that as a point in saying, what is the use of you going to the temple if this is how you have to behave? Like I tease my mother now a lot for that, but she used to say that, what's the point? If you have to do this ultimately to your mother, right? Something of that sort we might have experienced in some way or the other. The idea is that we have to understand we are not supposed to be doing such fault finding in others. When we are looking at others, we are supposed to be looking at the determination. That irrespective of all the distractions out there, look at this person who still made an effort. Even if that effort was coming in once a month, even if that effort is that regularly every time on the once in a year on the birthday you are coming in and joining your hands in front of the Lord, at least that effort is being made. Krishna looks at that effort, looks at that surrender that we are bringing in. The more we bring in, the more we are finally being able to come to the point of understanding Him more. Right? So that is what this verse is kind of talking about. And in the same way, when we go to the next one real quick, it says, he quickly becomes righteous and attains peace. O son of Kunti, declare this boldly, that my devotees never perish. So Krishna is saying that one who is taken up this path with determination, then they will ultimately attain righteousness and attain peace. Why is Krishna saying that? And the explanation of that is very beautiful. He's saying that if a person is determined that I am supposed to do the right thing, I'm supposed to be following it absolutely correct, I will ride this bike perfectly, even despite all the mistakes. If the determination is there, that continuous practice is going to make the person perfect. And eventually that perfection will be achieved. That highest stage as Krishna is saying, it will be achieved, and this he is guaranteeing. He's saying, go and declare it to everybody in the world that this will happen if determination is there. Now there's a very beautiful Leela in which we see this in a very practical demonstration. How many of us know the Leela where Krishna is tied by Mother Yashoda to an okhal or wooden mortar, right? Anybody else has heard of that Leela? No? Okay. Let me tell you that very briefly. So Krishna plays certain roles. So what he's doing is, Mother Yashoda was feeding Krishna. He's very small. And Mother Yashoda realizes that the milk that she had put in for boiling is now about to boil and come out, flow out of the pot itself. So she leaves Krishna in the middle of feeding process and goes in to attend that boiling milk pot. Krishna gets offended. Again, it's a Leela, not literally. But he gets offended at what is more important for you to than feeding your own child? You left me in between. I was so hungry. So now out of anger what he does, he breaks a few pots of butter and yogurt and all of the amazing milk products that are there, and he starts eating all of them, and he starts feeding it all to the monkeys and all the other animals around. When he hears Mother Yashoda coming back, he runs away real fast because he knows he's going to be in trouble. And he's running, and Mother Yashoda is running behind him with a stick. It's a very beautiful poem which describes this particular Leela. But what happens at the end is, Mother Yashoda is able to catch Krishna. And now he said, your punishment is I'm going to tie you to a wooden mortar. Okhal is called in Hindi. Right? So I'm going to tie you up over here. Now she picks up a piece of rope and starts tying Krishna. What happens next? She's not able to tie because the rope is short. Short by how much? She says 2 fingers. She says, okay, the rope is short, it can happen. She goes and grabs another piece of rope, ties it to the first one, makes it a bigger rope, tries to tie Krishna again. It's short again. By how much? 2 fingers. Weird. She brings in another rope, ties the third one, makes it a much longer rope, tries to tie Krishna again. Same thing. It's short again. By 2 fingers. This process keeps going on and on and on multiple times till when Mother Yashoda is now full of sweat. And saying, Krishna, what are you doing? I don't understand you. And that is when Krishna in his mind is saying, all right, I will let you bind me. And finally then the knot is able to be tied. What we learn from this Leela is very interesting. There is something that happens afterwards, but this 2 fingers shortage, the rope being 2 fingers short, there's a significance to that. In order for us to bind Krishna, and this binding is binding him with love. Because Krishna says, if you have bound me with love, I will do whatever you want. In Vrindavan, Krishna also danced, dressed up as a gopi just because to make the gopis happy. Even there's a Leela for that also. He would do anything. He became the Sarathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. That picture is right here. Right? And if you don't know this, in the olden times when you used to be having a chariot driver and then the warrior used to be on the chariot, in the battlefield, the way to communicate to your chariot driver was you cannot say anything. It's so noisy. There are hue and cry happening. There are weapon systems going here and there and so much happening. How will you communicate? You had to kick on the shoulder of your chariot driver. Kicking on the left shoulder means I want to go left. Kicking on the right shoulder means you want to go right. That is how the communication used to happen. Krishna said, I'm okay even to be kicked by my devotee. That is the position he takes when the rope is sufficiently long enough. The rope of love is long enough for us to be able to bind Krishna in it. But we have to make sure we are addressing that 2 finger shortage that exists. What are those 2 fingers? One is, the first one of them is what is being talked over here, it's our determination. Mother Yashoda did not give up. She failed once, she failed twice, she failed again and again and again and again, but she did not give up. When we keep doing that and that and that is when the second finger shortage is addressed by Krishna giving his merciful glance and saying, now I will help you bridge the gap. Because by our own effort, we can never bridge the gap of being able to reach Krishna. So our determination, our effort, our continuous progression is one aspect of the equation. The other is then looking at that Krishna says, okay, I give you what you want. So that is very important, right? That determination is what is being talked about. But all of this determination, where does that come from? How is that going to come in? How is that we are going to be determined that yes, we have to do it. Even if I am failing now, it is going to happen. Let's go back to the example of biking. How are we determined at that moment of time, despite I falling again and again, why did we keep making efforts to be able to ride a bike? What was the driving factor? What is that said that, no, let's do it? Any guesses, any answers based on your own experience? When you're trying to achieve something and you're not able to do it after multiple failures also, what is that drives you to keep trying? Anybody? Is it the fact that you have a faith that if you keep trying, you will ultimately succeed? Is it because you have seen others who have followed the process of doing it again and again? Did you see that the result is ultimately achieved and success comes into our way? That is faith. For devotion, there are 9 stages. And of course, there is Navedi Bhakti, 9 methods to perform devotion. But there are 9 stages. The first stage of bhakti is called Shraddha, faith. So when we have that faith, that there is something in this book which is going to be helpful for me. There is something which is a differentiator. And we start picking it up. And we start trying to read it. We'll fail. I think, oh, today I'm going to read the first chapter completely. Not able to do it. But we say, no problem. I was not able to do it today, I will do it tomorrow. That determination, that faith is coming in because we are putting in our faith in the book. That there is something in this book. How did we come to that faith? That is important. That faith just does not come in, right? Because we have seen others talking about Bhagavad Gita as a book again and again. And we have seen people saying it benefited them. It's what? 2025. 2010, 15 years ago, almost actually 16, because it was at the start of the year. Almost 16 years ago, I was here in this very city as a bachelor coming in on site to a particular project, and I was at the lowest point in my life. Okay? You know how do you say that, oh, this particular cleaning product is amazing? Because you talk about the dirtiest surface and you show that it got cleaned, and that is how you are able to talk about the power of a cleaning product, right? So I was at the lowest point where now when I look back and with today's terminologies, I can probably call myself at the starting edge of depression. Or starting edge of turning towards suicidal tendencies, if I have to call it that way. And that is the moment of time when I got the Bhagavad Gita through some devotee in this temple only. And it flipped my life completely over a weekend. Over a weekend. I used to do all the things that would be in this list not to do. In a weekend, I left it all. Does anybody smoke? Drink? Like alcohol consumption? You feel free to. Nobody is judging you. If somebody is been into this process or any similar process, and has tried to quit it, you would know the difficulty involved in that. And that difficulty gets involved only because there's nothing else for us to hold on to. On an icy, slippery road, when you're trying to walk inside, I'm going to leave a particular thing that is giving me support. It happens only when you are holding on to something stronger. So with all of that being my history, it changed my life completely to so much of good, and that is what motivates me to come over here on Tuesdays after office to try and share this, because it helped me and I want somebody else also to be able to take help from this. Hare Krishna. So that process, when we start such a process, thank you Prabhu, Hare Krishna. When we start such a process, this process is not easy to start. It starts with faith, with Shraddha. When we started learning a particular language, we put in faith that by going to school and by learning this A, B, C, D, we will at some point be able to come to use to form words from this letter, and using these words we will form sentences and then paragraphs, and then we will be able to use all of this knowledge. The first thing is to put in the faith, but now we have to then follow on with it with a very scientific process of saying, I have initiated the process now let's see if I get the result or not. Let's try. Oh, maybe I did the experiment wrong. Let me try it again. If you are failing again and again, then you can come to a conclusion, I have tried all particular combinations of executing this experiment. This is useless. Let's throw it out. But you can see clearly from experiments done by others that the book really has a transformation capability in it. And this is where it is important now. Let's look back at the verse. He says that he will quickly become righteous and will attain lasting peace. That peaceful state is achieved only through that constant determination process. Now let's understand. I'll go flip real quick to page 416. Because this is where we have to understand, when we are talking about all of this thing, what is the process that Krishna wants us to do? With faith, first step being Shraddha, the second step being what is called as Sadhu Sanga. Once we have developed faith, then we start associating with others, like the way we are doing it over here, and with them we start doing discussions, reading. Because now with like-minded people, we are able to do discussions and get our doubts clarified. Strengthen our faith even more. So, from Shraddha to Sadhu Sanga, the next comes is Bhajana Kriya. Now where there is Kriya, there is activity. Now, based on what you are seeing others to do in the association of devotees in Sadhu Sanga, you will start performing that action yourself. And then comes the final point. Once we have done these things that Krishna says, you have put in faith, Shraddha, you have done Sadhu Sanga, you have associated with the devotees, you have started doing Bhajan Kriya, which is you have practically started taking action as per the instructions given over here. Then comes the point of validation, which is you will start saying what is called Anartha Nivritti. What is Anartha Nivritti as the fourth stage is removal or reduction of unwanted things. The more strong faith we have, the more we will associate with devotees, the more we will be associated in practical physical actions towards devotion. And then we will be able to start seeing changes within us. And that is a validation that we are doing the right thing. If we have been doing so-called doing devotion for years and years, but have not seen even the slightest change in ourselves, this is now a point of self-introspection. If we have not seen any slightest change in our habits, then that means that we have not been doing the process properly, or our determination is not strong enough. What is this validation point? Again, there is a very beautiful set of qualities that the Bhagavad Gita talks about, which get manifested very clearly in a person who is doing devotion. And that's the way we are able to see, I am doing it correctly, or is somebody, if we are mentoring somebody, are they doing it clearly or not? Because irrespective of what you say by words, it's very clearly visible in terms of the characteristics. Let me give you a few examples, and then you will be able to kind of ring it in your head. One such characteristic is cleanliness. Both cleanliness of the body and the cleanliness of mind. It also reflects in the terms of cleanliness of speech. When I did not start this process, swearing, cursing are things that would very common. Not wanting to take shower early in the morning is probably one more characteristic which will transform into cleanliness. After that, you automatically want to be clean. Oh, let's wear clean clothes. These are all characteristics of goodness coming in. You moving from tamaguna, ignorance, towards sataguna, which is goodness. This transformation can be seen. And you make a guess. Who is the first one who will see this transformation? You or somebody else? Somebody else? Yourself? I'll tell you by practical experience. And this answer has been validated by a lot of other people, testified by a lot of people. The first person to see that transformation is going to be your mother. Your mother is the first one who will pick up those wives, even if you are here in Canada and they are in India. Over a video call also they will start picking up these symptoms. So see for those. If we are not seeing those transformations happening within us, then which means we are not following the process properly. We are misinterpreting something. The analogy given in Srimad Bhagavatam is, it is like you sat down into a boat in the middle of the night. You kept rowing all night. When sun comes in the morning and you're able to see where you are, you're still at the shore. Why? Because you did not pull out the anchor. A step missed, so you can clearly see no advancement despite all efforts. So a spiritual practice, when performed correctly, will always lead to the transformation, the development of 24 qualities that has been given in the Bhagavad Gita. Bravery, etc., are all part of those characteristics. Right? And what Krishna is saying is this. I'm on verse 34, page 416, for those who have the books open. I'm reading the verse again. And this is how, this is a very common verse. You can try and memorize this if you want to. It's a wonderful verse. It says, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. This aspect of being absorbed into Krishna and then coming into him has also been very scientifically been presented in other verses. But this is where it is. This is most important. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. It does not say engage your mind in me once a week by coming to the temple. It says engage your mind always in thinking of me. Easier said than done. There's so many other things in our life that we are supposed to do. So what does it mean? And how can this be done? That's the question. Anybody has any clue? What are the different ways in which we are engaged in thinking of the Lord at any given moment of time? Any guess? Chanting. That's a wonderful way. Yes. So you can chant the names of the Lord. We chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is called the Maha Mantra. That's one way to engage. Wonderfully said. But we cannot chant always. There's so many different other things. What other ways do we engage our mind in the service of the Lord? Yes. Sorry, focusing on what you said? Focusing on the breathing process. Wonderful. Okay, the pranayama processes as it's called. It's a yoga process. I'll come to that in a second. Any other ways? Okay. Let me flip the question. Think of the person that you love the most. Could be your parents, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, any friend, anybody. Can be a pet if you want to. When you love that person extremely, do you forget of them ever? Are they practically out of your mind completely? When we love somebody, then, and we are walking down the street and we see something, oh, this is that person's favorite. Oh, that person is going to like this so much. Oh, this is such a nice place. Maybe I should visit with that person. Are we not constantly thinking? It's coming out of love. That's one, right? Now, when we have love, then every action, every sight, every listening, every tasting, whatever we do can now be used. Every action that we are doing now can be used in order to be able, for us to be able to remember them. Now, let's say, for example, again, we talked about this as a bodily duty, does not imply, let's say, for example, I love my daughter a lot. Okay? And now I'm in this work with my boss really troubling me out, as bosses usually have a tendency to do. And I'm like, why the hell am I doing this job? I should just quit and go home. But what will stop me and say, oh, no. I need to do my job well so that I earn good, so that I can make sure I'm giving my daughter a good life. I can buy things for her. Now the entire action that I am performing is with the mindset that I have to please my daughter. Now if we same way beam our love towards Krishna, the same things can be done in this perspective when it is all devotion. Like Arjuna, he's fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's actually in the action of doing a war, killing people. But he's doing that because Krishna is instructing him, said, you do it, I'm telling you to do it. Now even that action is in the love of Krishna. Now in this way, every action can be performed for the love of Krishna. Ramayana, the example of Hanuman, when he leaps over the ocean and goes to Lanka. There's this very beautiful set of Leela that happens. After that, he burns down the Lanka. And while he's doing that, he's enraged, he's in anger. He's furious. I'm going to destroy this complete place. And that anger that he had, also he used it in the service of the Lord, that I'm going to kill the Lord's enemy. The one who has offended the Lord, I'm going to destroy them. That does not mean anybody who goes and talks about the entire concept of God a little bad and we go and kill them. That's not what it means. What it means is that any emotion, any feeling, any action can be used in the service of the Lord. But there's a caveat, as stricter terms and condition to it. It has to be validated. And that because even if when you're in a military force, for example, any defense forces, you've been given a gun, you can shoot down and kill anybody. And if you're doing it the right way as per the instructions from the higher authority, you will be given a medal. Otherwise, you're subjected to disciplinary action. Right? So how do we make sure that whatever actions we are performing is authorized and is in lines of how Krishna exactly wants us to do? Because he's not standing in front of us like he was standing with Arjuna. He's not standing directly, but he's standing indirectly through his representative, whom we call a guru, a teacher. So from Krishna, what he's saying is this knowledge needs to be received and understood and practically followed by a very simple process, evam paramparam praptir. Like this, accept the knowledge through a parampara system. Krishna taught to Brahma, taught to Narada, taught to Vyasadeva, so on the parampara continues. 32nd in that parampara, and the entire parampara is at the starting of page 30 of the Bhagavad Gita if you want to read. 32nd of that is basically His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. 32nd in that parampara. After him, 33rd in that parampara is his disciples, like my Guru Maharaj, His Grace Sankarshan Dasaji. 34th would be my god brothers who have come up to the point of being qualified to be gurus, will be 34th in the parampara. Like that, the knowledge is very carefully passed down from one person to another, validated that the person has understood it correctly and is practicing that knowledge to show it. Through them, we go and question, we inquire from them, and from them we go and understand as Arjuna is doing for Krishna, at every stage he is asking questions. You read a scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam, it's full of questions. Parikshit Maharaj is continuously asking questions. Any Vedic scripture is nothing but a question and an answer book. Somebody is asking questions, somebody is answering that question. And the person answering the question is answering based on what they were told through their parampara. Never in a Vedic scripture are you going to see somebody just saying, hey, come here, I'm going to give you knowledge. It all starts with a question. It always starts with the jigyasa, a curiosity. And the answer is never given. I think this is the answer. Never in any Vedic scripture has the answer been given in that way. Nowhere in the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita or the 70,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic scripture has the information been presented in that way. So, 3 pillars for us to always validate information. The first is Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. So with the Guru in the physical form, we are able to go and ask questions and directly get instructions from them of how in my particular situation am I supposed to be practicing what the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita are. Sadhu are the devotees whom we refer to as references saying, oh, you told me to do this, oh, this is how he is doing, okay, I'll try and follow the same thing. And when we are in doubt that the person whom I'm calling as my guru is even authentic or not, are they teaching me the right thing or not, we reflect back to the scriptures, these 3 should tie. Only when the 3 things tie to each other correctly, that is when we are sure that we are getting the authorized scriptures, instructions and knowledge. Guru, Shastra, Sadhu, all 3 has to match. If there is somebody who comes in as guru and he's saying, I am God. I'm God. Come here, I'm God. That does not validate with what the sadhus are saying, that does not validate what the scripture says. So, bogus. Throw them out. This is the way to validate. And through that validation process, before we wrap up with any questions and final discussions, let's take the most simple example of how everything can be done for the service of the Lord as Krishna is saying here. Hare Krishna. So, the very simple example, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so the very practical example as we can see this is very, very interesting. How many of us eat food? Nobody. Eating anything? Do we eat anything to keep our body alive? Thank you so much. Like the enthusiasm. We all eat. And for eating, we do the process of eating. Before that, we do the process of cooking or ordering. Or before that, we do the process of buying the ingredients. Or before that, we do the process of earning money to be able to eat. It's a huge long chain. If we add just one step, which is that before we eat, let's lovingly offer what we eat to Krishna. Have a picture, put it in front of him. Now your entire process of eating, cooking, getting the ingredients, working to be able to get the money for ingredients is all service for the Lord. That way, a good percentage of your entire life you have contributed to Krishna now. Just by the process of offering to Krishna what you eat. But we have to be very careful, you have to follow the instructions nicely. What can we offer to Krishna? Patram pushpam phalam toyam. He's very clearly saying that there is these categories of food which has to be, he also puts a terms and condition. But he's saying anything which is leaf, which is vegetables, which is water, which is flowers, all of that, any preparation from that, when cooked with love and devotion, can be offered to Krishna and Krishna will accept it. He says that in Bhagavad Gita directly. So if we are doing that, we are buying these ingredients and doing that, a good percentage of our life is now engaged in the service of Krishna. Very practical, doable. Easy way to start for it is because we are supposed to be cooking with love and devotion in a very clean environment without onion, garlic and so on and so forth. But we can at least start offering fruits, milk, dry fruits, nuts, whatever we are getting. At least we can start from that. And then we can slowly build on top of it. I'll tell you one more very interesting part, which is where we can, this aspect of always remembering me can come in very nicely. How many of us drink water when we are thirsty? Right? So, so whenever we are drinking water, when we are thirsty, we get a satisfying feeling, don't we? Winter's different situation, summer's 100% for sure, right? But even in winters, when we get really thirsty, that satisfying feeling that we get from water, from drinking water. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Rasoham mathe kanteya. He's saying, Arjuna, the taste of that water is me. He's screaming there. So every time you are thirsty and you take a sip of water, remember that satisfying taste of water is Krishna. Now every time you drink water, it is easy for you to remember Krishna and engage your mind in the service of Krishna. These are just 2 examples I have said. These are 2 verses out of 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. If you read the full thing, you can very easily see how practically at every aspect we can completely get engaged in the service of Krishna. And it is very practical in any day, any time, place and circumstances. Do you know why that flower has been given? What are we supposed to do with that flower? How many senses do we have? I'm giving hints. 5 senses, right? What we are supposed to be doing. Okay, one of the names of Krishna, does anybody know, is Rishikesha? Right? Do you know what Rishikesha means? The master of senses. He is the master of senses. The senses that we have is supposed to be used in his service. We're supposed to be engaging our services in Krishna's service in some way. Now, this flower that you got has been offered to the Lord. Okay? Now, when we get the flowers like these, very lovingly from an amazing devotee, we're supposed to be smelling them. We just engaged our nose, our smelling power in the service of Krishna. That's how in different ways, there are, again, this is a process taught through the Bhagavad Gita. This is the way in which practically at every time and place we are able to engage ourselves in this service of Krishna, in being able to remember Krishna. Now you take this flower and you take it somewhere at home. Right? Every time you see this flower, till when the fragrance remains, smell it nicely. Otherwise, you can dry it also and keep it. You will be reminded of Krishna. These are simple ways. And these are authorized ways to do it. And there is a very scientific reasoning behind all of these things that we are doing. Why do we come to the temple and have darshan of the deities? To engage our seeing into the service of the Lord. Why do we come down and bow down? Because we are engaging our process of touching senses to bow down in front of the Lord. So many different ways which can be very easily and scientifically be understood. So, as you see, by the way, did anybody know that yesterday was Gita Jayanti? No. So, yesterday was the day when 5,000 years ago, more than 5,000 years ago, when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So what we do is we call it the Gita Marathon also, where we encourage everybody to take a copy of Bhagavad Gita and engage ourselves into reading. All the knowledge, again see, very simple thing. Reading Bhagavad Gita, you're using English capability to read, right? All the time that you spend up in order to do that learning of the language, to be able to read it. Once you've used that capability that you have learned, to read the Bhagavad Gita, all of that is now being used at the service of Krishna. See how easily with small actions you are contributing so much percentage of your life in the service of Krishna. That's how we say we are completely surrendered to the service. Because whatever we are doing, we are using the output of that in the service of Krishna somehow or the other. The action is not what matters, it's the intent and the use of the output that matters. Okay? So, it says read it, live it, and share it. So we were reading it, whatever we talked about, very simple things. Remember Krishna while drinking water, offer the foods to Lord and eat that, read the Bhagavad Gita. So those are the processes where you are living this knowledge now. Once you have read it, you have lived it, share it with others. So as part of the Gita Jayanti Marathon, what we do, and again when we reach the 18th chapter, it's again very clearly said, that is why we do it. It says, one who shares this knowledge with others is the most dear to me. That is what Krishna says. So there are people who are doing things for me, which is wonderful. I love them. Actually, he clearly says that I am indiscriminate to everybody. I'm equipoised. I see everybody in the same ways. But one who shares my knowledge with others and engages them in getting the knowledge about me is the most dear to me. So that is now in the month of December. If you don't have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, it's my humble request to, from the table, take one, pay the donation at the reception, whatever you feel like. And best of all, one step ahead would be to take it for somebody else also. In this way, we would have engaged into the service of the Lord. Keep coming for these Tuesday Sangas. I can share the QR code to be added to a WhatsApp group where we keep making announcements about these programs. In this way, you can very easily, and in a very practical manner, get engaged into following the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as everybody else is doing. So we help each other out in that ways. Collectively we do it. So that is where I would stop. I would really thank you very much for giving me your ears. Thank you very much for engaging in this amazing process of reading the Bhagavad Gita with me. I can spend 5 minutes or so for any questions, comments. Feel free also to challenge. Because again, even Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita did not just pick up the knowledge because it was being said in that way. There are places where he said, I don't think what you're saying makes sense because of this reason. And then Krishna clarifies. So even that is a process which is accepted as per the Vedic processes. Asking questions, putting our minds in front and saying, I don't understand this, I don't see why you are saying that is correct. Because that is what helps in being able to remove the mental blocks that we have between us and following a particular process. Strengthening the first step, faith. Shraddha is as we talked about, right? So, I'll stop. Any questions for me? Any comments? Any realization that you would want to share? Any challenges? Or any feedback in general? Did you have something? Anybody? Last 10 seconds. I know you all have to go. It's getting cold and it's getting dark. Yes, please. Do you mind coming a little closer, please? Sorry. This is making too much noise. Thank you so much. Wonderful question. How do I come to know about the purpose of life? And that is the best question to be asked. Because, okay, let me first talk about the question itself. Because we have been given intelligence. We have been given this capability to rationalize, reason out. In Sanskrit, it's called the Tarka Shakti. And that is what we are supposed to be using to ask these questions. Hey, if I have a life, what is the purpose of it? I'm not been given anything without a purpose. What is the purpose of it? So what is the purpose of a human form of life? The purpose of a human form of life, as we have got it, needs to be something which can be done only as a human being and not in any other form of life. Do we agree to that? If animals are able to eat, or in any other form of life we are able to do eating as a process, the purpose of human form of life, it cannot be eating. With that higher intelligence, that higher intellectual capabilities that has been given, we are not supposed, it's not meant for doing the things at the same level as people with not that level of intellect are doing. So there are 4 things, which is Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun, which basically means eating, sleeping, mating and defending ourselves, are what the animals also do. Clearly, those are the 4 things that we are not supposed to do. Oh, when I say not supposed to be, it's not the purpose of life. We have to do to survive and to live because we have to eat, right? So 4 things, this is common with us and the animals, is what Srimad Bhagavatam talks about. But that differentiator which becomes the purpose of our life is what is called is being the following of the dharma. Now, what does dharma mean? We very loosely in English would translate dharma to religion. But that's not how Sanskrit works. It's religion and it's also duty. So following our duties is the purpose of our life. But what is our duty? When we started the conversation, we said the duties can either be defined on the basis of the body or can be defined on the basis of the original identity as a spirit soul. So the duties that we define on the basis of a bodily identity, that as a man I'm supposed to do this, as a woman I'm supposed to do this, as a father, as an Indian, as a citizen of this country, whatever we are kind of designating ourselves using the body, that is not what we are talking about as the real duty. The real duty is the duty that we are supposed to be fulfilling as the soul, as the living entity. Chaitanya Charitamrita gives the answer in a very brief manner and an effective manner, which says, Jivere Swarupa Hoy Krishnere Nitya Dasa. That the constitutional position, the original identity and position of a living entity is to be the servant of Krishna. So the purpose of our human form of life is to build that first, as I was saying, the process is to build that faith first, that this is the process to be followed. Go to the next stage of doing sadhu sanga, to associate it with devotees, to see how it is supposed to be done. Go next step, do bhajan kriya, to start doing it ourselves. Step 4 is to start seeing anartha nivriti happening, unwanted things getting rid of, becoming perfect in this entire process. And that way we start going up to the process of developing bhava, the ruchi, and then finally coming up to the last stage of prema, the pure love of Lord. To come to that stage is the purpose of life. And that's the journey that we take. By first step of it is being inquisitive, asking the questions, and through that asking of questions, clarifying our doubt, clearing the vision for ourselves to see things as they are supposed to be seen, which is on a spiritual platform, and then taking actions from that. I hope that helps. Yes, Steve. How to use Bhagavad Gita in everyday life? Yes. Right? I got it. So yeah, so in our struggles, when we are trying to find answers, how do we look at the... So, okay, this was a conversation, interestingly, I was having at lunchtime with one of my office colleagues. So, there is this statement which is made, Bhagavad Gita gives us the answer of everything. Okay? When we say it gives us the answer of everything, which means it gives us the answer to the most fundamental things on top of which all the other questions are built up. Let me take an example, and with that I will explain. When I take this phone and leave it, it will drop. Why does a phone fall? I answer something. Then if I use the same question of saying, now when I took up something else and leave it, it fell down. The basic principle answer of everything is that there is gravity. Right? So the way the Bhagavad Gita answers is, it answers us things in those fundamental principles. Once we have, and there are subject matters, 5 subject matters that the Bhagavad Gita talks about. One is, for example, who are you? You cannot do anything for your own good till when you don't know who you are. If you are considering yourself as a woman, as a daughter of somebody, and so on and so forth identity, that's not your real identity. So you cannot solve the real problem without knowing your real identity. So the first point that the Bhagavad Gita helps us to understand is, who are we? Now once we have understood who we are, then we are able to perform actions in the interest of the self. It is not being selfish. It is about doing things for what you are supposed to be doing. So that's the first part of the knowledge. The second part of the knowledge is then to understand the Supreme. And then finally, which the 3 things combining together becomes a Sambandha Jnana. Your relationship with that Supreme, that's Sambandha Jnana. So 3 totals. Who are you? Who is the Supreme? And what is your relationship with that Supreme? A very fundamental principle. Once you have understood this, you are now able to understand all your actions in that context. Am I making, are my actions in alignment as per my relationship with the Supreme or not? And then you will start understanding that because my actions are not in line with the actions of how the Supreme wants me, or my relationship with the Supreme means, that's why my struggles, which we call as the karmic reaction. Because I am not performing actions for the Supreme, there will be reactions to it. There is karma, akarma and vikarma. Any actions performed, good or bad, which is for your own self, will have a reaction to it. But an action performed for the Supreme, as I said, when you're offering what you're eating to the Lord, the entire process of eating, cooking, buying, everything is now done as part of the service. There is no reaction to it. We talk about it, oh, eating meat is not good because you're killing animals. But what about killing plants? I'm sorry to say, but yes, you get karmic reactions for that also. First degree murder versus a small petty theft, punishment is different, but there is consequences of that. Killing a plant also will have consequences. Unless that killing of the plant has been done in order to be able to make an offering for the Lord. Now you did not do it for yourself, you're doing it as per the rules and regulations, as per the prescribed process to offer it to the Lord. Now you're not subjected to reactions. Right? When we start understanding all of these aspects, this entire science based on the principle of knowledge, that is where we see where we are going wrong, which is leading to the karmic reaction, which is what translates to struggle for us. That is how the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita practically, scientifically helps us. This is just one example. If you want your answer immediately, you start. So, okay. When we have been doing the wrongs for millions and millions and millions of lifetimes now. To get rid of all of that overnight is not possible. And that is why Krishna is very clearly saying that even if you are making commitment, if you commit abominable actions while being engaged in the process of learning, you're still perfect. If with determination right now, so when you are in the process of trying to find answers, but with the lack of that full clarity and knowledge and answer, you're still making mistakes. You're still considered perfect because you're continuously making still an effort to improve. But to your portion of saying, how do I get my answer instantly? It cannot come instantly. What can come instantly? It can and cannot. How fast do you get to the point of fully understanding yourself? Fully realizing the knowledge, fully being able to practice is dependent on how fast do you take up the process, how sincerely do you take up the process, and how much do we keep aside that tendency to try and bend the rules. Srila Prabhupada says in so many different contexts of conversation, he says, for us to become perfect, like this, in a moment it can happen. But for us to be able to do that, we have to be that fully surrendered and determined. Right now, right this minute, I'll stop all the wrong. The example that we are taking of offering food to the Lord, you can right now take a vow and saying, I will not eat anything without offering to the Lord. If we are so determined and strong enough to be able to do that, the answers are going to come in faster. But as I said, if we are not able to do that overnight, fine, we can start by offering milk, fruits, something. In the proportion of how much are we doing, out of 20% of my meals I am offering first to the Lord, that is the extent at which that power for us to be able to understand Krishna is going to come in. So it is all based on how we are doing. The devotees who come in, who start understanding this process is, oh, you know what, I'm going to, as youth, this is possible, that I'm going to start and become part of what is called the Bhakti Academy here. These youths are actually living in the temple in order to speed up their process of understanding and learning. They wake up early in the morning, 4:30 for Mangala Arati. They perform, they do their chanting sitting right here. They do the Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning and then go to their work, studies, wherever they go. They come back in the evening, eat over here in the temple. They do a little bit of reading with everybody and then go to bed like everybody else does. They're doing their studies work, but they have added this before and after, and they do their parties in their own style and have fun there in their own ways. But that's Bhakti Academy. Faster process. It depends on us how much. We talked about 2 fingers in that Leela, right? Where Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna. Determination and Krishna's mercy. The more we are showing ourselves of how determined we are and the more we are taking up the process sincerely and fast enough, the faster we will come to the point. It's all dependent on us. Does that help? Okay, I can take one more question if there is any. Yes, please. I'll give you the mic actually. This is making it very difficult, sorry.
I just have a question that how can one be consistently determined in every environment you are in? It's Rajsik and Tamsik.
Very, very, very good question. We have in the process of Kali, in the Kali Yuga, there is so much of distraction available. Right? So the process that we use in order to strengthen, so the way it is described again in Srimad Bhagavatam very beautifully, is that when you are asking this question, for example, or when you are sitting down over here and giving time to listen to the conversation itself, which means in your heart there is a seed of devotion already sown. And then from that seed, a little creeper is going to come, which is called Bhakti Lata Bija. Right? That little creeper is very tiny right now. It's not very strong. So you're supposed to be protecting it. How do you protect it? By making sure there is surrounding over here. Now there are two ways to do it. While we are doing it, one, we need the positive enforcement. The positive force needs to be increased. And second, the negative force has to be reduced. Both needs to be done. How do we increase the positive force? By ensuring that we are doing processes. There is A, B, C, D. These are the positive forces. The more we do it, the stronger we get. And the least we are impacted by external aspects. A is association. Associating with devotees, like-minded people in forums like these. The more we sit down, the more we discuss, the more we hear, the more strengthened our faith and determination becomes. B is books. We are supposed to be reading, because through the process of reading, it intensifies our knowledge, and that knowledge directs our mind in the right direction. Then it does not let it distract, because it is our knowledge that through which we know this is right and this is wrong. And if we are seeing something wrong, we will try and walk away from it. C is the process of chanting. The Hare Krishna mantra that we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This process of chanting is what cleanses our heart. It removes that tendency within our heart to do the wrong thing. And finally, the fourth is diet. Eating only after offering to Lord. The more we are doing that, the more we are cutting down the inflow of negative influence. If somebody is cooking in a restaurant with a lot of anger, and you eat that food, that anger impacts you, you will become angry. So that is why, till when it's not offered to the Lord, all these external factors will continuously keep influencing us. So those are the positive enforcements. The negativity that we are supposed to be cutting down in our life is kind of opposite to it. Like first it's called like asatta sanga tyaga. The wrong association, get rid of it. Which means you will lose a couple of people as we go, but you will make lot more friends. So people who are in the tendency of doing things which is not correct, or talking about or faltering your determination, forget it, man. It's okay. एक दिन नहीं करेगा तो कुछ नहीं होता. One day if you just don't do it, it's not a big deal. If we go with such people, they will make us bend little by little by little by little till when we are lying down flat. Asatta Sanga Tyaga. Such negativity needs to be removed. Similarly also, the negativity, initially it comes in by strict following of rules. Why do we in the process of religion have rules? It is to cut down negativity. Then it becomes natural automatically when the cleanliness of happens. So things such as meat eating, intoxications, any sorts of gamblings, any sort of illicit sex, these are all negativities. These are the 4 places where the negativity holds the most strongest. And hence these are called the regulative principles. Get rid of them. The better you are getting rid of it, the more you will be strong, the more external factors will not influence you. It is up to us to safeguard that little tiny creeper. When it becomes a strong tree, then you are fine, strong, and you are able to give shelter to others. But till when it is right now in our stage, this Bhakti Lata Bij, this is very, very tiny, is very small. I'm supposed to be taking care of it in this way. Does that help? Fantastic. Thank you so much. This program is called a Tuesday Sanga. We do it every Tuesday, 6:30. So depending on your schedules, please do come in, join us. There's also a WhatsApp group in which we make announcements. But today, please, on the day of Gita Jayanti, which was yesterday was Gita Jayanti, please try and convince your mind to read Bhagavad Gita. Take a copy if you don't already have it. That would be my humble request. Thank you so much. Have a very nice week going forward. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Sorry, and there is prasad over here. Everybody, I can give it to you all.